The major nine. It's what I still call the planets in our solar system, even after they murdered Pluto. But aside from that, it's actually the most slept on guitar chord out there, and it's also one of the most misunderstood chords. So today we're talking about major nine chords, and they're actually a really interesting thing to think about on a guitar. Because I would say that most of the time, they don't get played as they technically should. And there's a good reason for this, because it's hard to play a major nine chord because it's actually 5 different notes. And again, most of the time you only have 6 strings. So real quick, I want you to hear what a C major 9 sounds like on a piano and how we build it, because it makes a lot more sense. All right, good old piano. Everything is in order. C, right? You take the 2 black keys, you go one to the left, there's a C. So we can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1 to 9. We build chords in thirds. So we take every third note. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So there we go. There's a C. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And that's the sound of a major 9 chord. Now on guitar, the first way we could do it is maybe just play an arpeggio. I think that's a great way to learn a new chord, is learning an arpeggio that goes with it, right? So we take the first, the third, the fifth, the seventh, and then the ninth of a thing, right? It's a lot easier on piano because you can just kind of skip around. So the shape that'll give you a major 9 on a guitar looks like this. So if we start with our C right here, we can go from a C to a third, right? So C, E, 3 to 7, 5, D, right? 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay? That diagonal right there from 5D to 4G. And then now we have a minor third, another third, to get to the 7th fret on the G string. Okay? So A string, 3, 7, D string, 5, G string, 4, 7. Alright, like that. You can add notes along the way too. I always like adding the, right here, that 1, 2 to 3. And again, the 2 and the 9 are the same note, right? It's easy to find the 9th note of any key because, like, alright, C, it's really just the 2nd note, just an octave higher, right? So what's the 9th note in the key of C? Well, what's right after C? A D. What's the 9th note in the key of G? A. What's the 9th note in the key of D? E. You can just use the alphabet to help you with that. So conceptually, it's very easy to do, right? But that arpeggio really helps out. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And it's really, I think, a really pretty chord to just kind of riff on, especially if you want to incorporate the octave in there, right? C, E, G, B, C again, then D, right? Then you can start doing stuff like, and then really just getting all the way through, adding that 9th past the octave. Sounds really good, okay? Now I want to take a moment before we actually start doing the chords to talk about a false major 9, and that's the add 9, okay? And music theory gatekeeping is like the worst thing in the world. The only thing that I'll ever do is if someone tells me they're playing a major 9 and they're playing an add 9, I stop them. I'm like, enough, you're not playing a major 9, that's an add 9. Because there is, I think, such a big contextual difference between the two, right? So C add 9, I bet you've heard it before. Like we said, it's easy to find the 9th note in a key, just D. We'll take a C chord and add a D to it. Right, you've probably seen that, right? 3A, 2D, 3B. You know, sounds great, it's cool, but that's an add 9. We're actually missing the 7th note. And the way that we build chords is we stack them, right? Again, way easier on the piano to see because it goes 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. It's all in order, it's all linear. Whereas the guitar, you're kind of hunting around for things, trying to find the right stuff, right? So for instance, here's a C major to an add 9, C major 9. That's the easiest chord you could ever play. I'm just holding down the 3rd fret of the A string and hitting everything else. Maybe I don't want to hit that E string because, you know, it'll kind of muddy a little bit, but. So that's the easiest way to play add 9, okay? You just really take a C chord, just keep the C, get everything else. Because we have a C, where's our E? That's our third. High E, where's our G? That's our fifth. Open G string, where's our B? That's our seventh. Open B string, where's our D? That's our ninth. Open D string. Right? How easy is that? So you could take your root note anywhere. You could be like, all right, well, what's the E major 9? You could just go to the 7th fret and then just kind of bar it. Again, that's a kind of a tricky one to do, but such a beautiful, just pretty sound, right? And you know it's gonna sound pretty if you're using Elixir strings. Elixir are the sponsor of today's video. Get yourself some Elixir strings. This Martin D18 sounded like absolute trash until I put the Elixirs on there. Maybe not absolute trash, but I love the sound of Elixir strings on Dreadnought guitars. I think it just kind of adds a perfect balance because Dreadnoughts can be boomier. I specifically like the Phosphor Bronze 12s on there because they add like a brightness that doesn't annoy you, and the strings last forever. So get yourself some Elixir strings. They're a huge sponsor of my channel and this video specifically. There's an affiliate link in the description. So the beautiful people at Elixir Strings understand major 9 chords so well, all right? So we've got this really easy one that we can kind of, you know, manipulate with that arpeggio. But let's learn a closed voicing that we can move around a little easier than having to do that 3-fret stretch, all right? So the first major 9 chord I actually learned looks like this, right? So it's the 3rd fret of the A string, there's our C. We have our major 3rd, 2D. There's our major 7 right there, 4 on the G string, and then our 9 is on top right here, okay? So I think this is maybe like what I would consider the most traditional sounding major 9 chord, just because it's in order. 1, 3, 7, 9, okay? So, and then, you know, we can do this on the 1 and the 4 chord, if you know what that means, C, D, E, F. F is also a major 9 chord in this key. You just move it from 3 all the way up to the 8th fret, which is our F, 3, C, to F. Can't move it to G because, again, that's a dominant 7, so that's how you get a dominant 9. Kind of screwed that up at the end there, but you know, you get the idea. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Now you might be like, well, you said it was a 5-note chord. You're only playing 4 notes with this guy right here. Okay, so this is kind of the tricky part. We're implying one of the notes, all right? Usually the note that gets implied the most is the 5th, right? C to a G, that's like a power chord. If you're playing a C, it's major 3rd, and it's major 7th, and it's major 9th. It's like, we get it. You know, it's most of the way there. We're not gonna bother with having every little thing, right? So that's why we imply the 5th. And the 5th is usually the one that gets implied the most, right? Because the 3rd has a huge amount of importance. If you're making a chord, it's almost like, all right, you're not gonna make a chord without the 5th. That's silly. That's just ludicrous. Why would you do it? So it's like, all right, we'll spot you the 5th because it's so closely tied to the 1, right? So we can leave that 5th out and still get the gist of the chord. That's why I think that this one right here, I feel like it sounds the most like the piano version of having all the notes in there. That's why it's probably my go-to major 9 chord voicing, even over. I like the openness of that first one we did, but the fact that the 9 is so close to the root note, when it's really it's only a step away. You know, has a vibe for sure, but getting the 9 on top is kind of cool, right? So once you start implying notes, you can really start to get creative with how you name chords. In fact, my actual favorite, again, I think that's the most traditional voicing of major 9. There are ones that I use more, but my actual favorite C major 9 chord is this right here. It's 5 on the D string, 7 on the G string, 5 on the B string, 7 on the high E string. And again, when I think of like the beauty and just kind of like the pretty kind of questioning of a major 9 chord, I think of this chord right here. And the crazy thing about this is we're implying the actual root note, okay? There's no C in this chord, right? But it kind of sounds like it, right? There's one voicing, another voicing. And see how it kind of all goes together? There's actually not a C in this chord, but we've been playing in the context of the key of C this whole lesson. So having this note here, a G, a D, and again there's this 5th, there's its 9th, there's the major 3rd E, and there's the major 7 B, kind of gives most of what I'm thinking of, right? So this is where chords and stuff get kind of like weird, because it's like, this is really just an E minor 7, right? But it does have a different vibe and a feel depending on how you use it. So again, major 9 is almost just like Pluto out in the solar system. Pluto's still there. Just because you're not calling it a planet doesn't mean that it doesn't get to feel like a planet. This is the Pluto of major 9 chords. We don't even have the root. We don't have Neil Tyson's blessing to call this a C major 9. But guess what? We don't need it, and we never needed it. Because this chord was here before I was born, it'll be here after I leave. Still just revolving around this solar system of music. And what a beautiful metaphor that was, wasn't it? So, that's major 9 chords, all right? You can put them really wherever you want. I think it's a cool thing to just think about, right? And especially once you start connecting them with the arpeggio. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. It's just a beautiful thing that I feel like anybody can kind of like, you know, get value from. And they can be as easy or as difficult as you want, but conceptually understanding where they are, I think, is a big part of it. So thanks for watching. Thank you to Elixir Strings for sponsoring the video, and I will talk to you guys soon.